Hello everyone, in this video tutorial we are going to talk about the concept of canon applied to the drawing of a human body. A canon is basically just a tool. It's going to allow us to draw a typical human body, not necessarily copying from the natural world, from our direct environment. In fact, human proportions are as diverse and as changing as many individuals are. So clearly what we are going to do is just using a helping tool that is not really going to fit into most of the real human bodies, but is going to allow us to understand in a very ample way the human skeleton, the human body, as, so to say, as a model, as a machine. In this software that I'm showing you here, we are going to immediately understand how rapidly the human proportions can change in accordance to, for instance, the gender. For instance, have a look at the torso here. How does it change when it comes to talk about a human male, or for instance a human female? The proportions according to the hips and the shoulders changes a lot. Also, for instance, when it comes to age, we do not have the same proportions when we are old than, of course, than when we are babies. The head of a child is so much bigger in relationship to the rest of the body than it is, for instance, a human adult, where the proportions between the head and the rest of the body varies also a lot from one to the other, according to, for instance, the height. High people usually have small heads in relationship to the body, as much as 8 to 9 heads into the body. That's something we're going to see in a minute. And short people, on the other hand, for instance here, can vary from 5 to 6. So in fact, most of the children, pre-teenagers, usually are managing those numbers, 6 to 7 heads that fit into the body, depending, of course, on your height. Anyways, what we're going to see now is a typical Greek canon, in which, as you can see, the size of the head is going to fit into the rest of the body. How many times? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, which is basically the same as most of the late Greek sculptures, in which the canon varies from 7.5 and 8 heads. And that is exactly what we are going to use in order to create our own template, our own grid that is going to allow us to draw very easily a human body, just attending to a couple of norms. So according to that, as you can see, we could, instead of using 7.5 heads, we could directly go into 8 heads, which is going to be so much more convenient and helpful and easy. And also, as you can see, the body that I am using is, so to say, something in between a male and a female. It is something, as you can see, I put the bar here in the middle, so it's so to say androgyne, something in between. But the moment, for instance, we amplify a little bit the height, and in this case we are going to face the gender male one. We are going to do a screen save of this one, and we are going to afterwards analyze it again, copy it into and this one is going to be switched by this one here. We're going to make it fit, and immediately after, you see we are going very close, we are getting very close to that 8-head cannon. So in accordance to what I said, what we are going to draw is basically an 8-head structure, which is going to be as simple as the following one. Look, we do draw here a rectangle which is going to fit in its inside a head. Now we are going to press the spacebar like this, and we are going to be able to take that rectangle, fit into the other. Make sure here on the right side you have these tools checked, activated, which are the snap activation tools, especially the ones here you have, which is the snap midpoints of line segments, and also snap into nodes and rectangle corners and so on. Okay, so once you have that, it is going to be as simple as, again, spacebar at the same time you start moving it, or maybe if you want to do a right click and duplicate it and then again you move it. So we are going to be able to do this 8 times, or why not just select these 4 ones, again spacebar, and so here we have it. By selecting them all and pressing Ctrl at the same time you scale it up or down, we will be able, as you can see here, to fit this structure of 8 equal rectangles into the available space of our canvas. Now, since, as you can see here, the width of our human body in terms of the distance of the shoulders in comparison with the head can be, as you can see here, more or less 2 heads at each side of it. In fact, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fit it so you understand a little bit better what I mean. So, not taking in account the ears, just the size of the head. As you can see, the shoulders are pretty close to these lateral boundaries. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to select them all, and again spacebar, we're going to place it at one side, spacebar, and again at the other. So this is going to allow us to draw very easily a human body, and you're going to find out immediately how. So now what we need now is taking this kind of grid, this template, and putting it into the background so it doesn't interact with the rest of the drawing. So how do we do that? First, we're going to select it all like that, and we're going to group it. Right click and we group it. Now we get into the fill and stroke here. If you do not have that one activated, you will just only have to get into Object, Fill and Stroke, and you will have this window here selected. It can be possibly here on the upper part. Then you get into the ribbon of Stroke Paint, and you place the opacity till it is a little bit below 25%, something like that. Nice and dandy. So, next step, we need to make sure we are not going to select this template over and over again. So what we do is we go here into layer 1, and if you see this lock here, we are going to lock it. So from now on we are not going to be able to select anything on this layer. But of course we want to keep on drawing, so we will have to add another layer. So we go here into layers, kappa, add layer, layer 2. Here we have it, this layer, which is number 2, and this one is unlocked. So we will be able to keep on drawing perfectly well here. Now, let's draw by the use of an ellipse what is going to be our head. Now, the opacity of our head, I do not want it to be 25%, so this one is going to be risen up into 100. From this point on, we will need to find out where the clavicle, where the collar bone is going to be. So it turns out, in order to find the clavicle, which is the bones we have here on the upper part of the chest, where the shoulder is inserted, it turns out this subdivision here is interesting to be again subdivided into 3/3. And we are going to do that not in a mathematical or geometrical or accurate way, no. We are going to, first of all, we are going to unsnap here these tools, and just by sight we are going to try to subdivide this, clicking Control at the same time, into 3/3, something like that, trying to make this distance from here to there almost as high as that, and again this one again. And we are not going to necessarily do that perfectly well, just more or less divide those into 3 equal subdivisions. And that is going to allow you to understand the following reference points. First, our collarbone, clavicle, is going to be in this third here. The arm bits, las axilas, that is the intersection where our pectoral and the shoulder come together, is going to be in this third here. And finally, here on the bottom of this subdivision, we are going to have the bottom part of the pectorals and the nipples. So that's exactly what we are going to do here. That is, we're going to subdivide this into 3 equal parts, more or less. So if that is not good enough, you can use the arrows till you see basically those are perfectly subdivided. So if we do that, then that is going to allow us to draw the neck from here to there. Let's put it by using these icons. These icons are probably a little bit different to what I am using. In your program they are probably all drawn by parallel lines, which is good. And by the way, I'm going to fill this ellipse with a white color, which is not that one here. This is the ribbon of stroke. Here is the fill, and I'm going to make sure it is not transparent at all. So as you can see here, it is not transparent anymore, which is nice, which is good. Now I'm going to fit the shoulders. The shoulders are going to be, as I told you before, they're going to be as big as 2/3, and they're going to be almost touching the boundaries here. Then we will be able to draw the collar neck, which is going to go from here to there. Let's draw a kind of triangle such as this, and then the trapezium, one here, that is nice, that is going to be selected, spacebar, and then I am going to flip it vertically here. This icon is probably a little bit different in your program for whatever reason, since I'm using Linux. Anyways, it is in the same place. This is going to allow you to flip it, as you see here. So that is going to be the position of the trapezium according to the neck. Then again, I am going to draw a pectoralis, very schematic, since here we are going to probably find the nipples. That is going to be one pectoral muscle, like that. Again, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to mirror it, and those are going to be two pectorals. The shape of those pectorals can be so different from one individuum to the other. So let's continue on. Now, the navel and most of the abdomen is going to be subdivided into these 2/8 parts, and so is going to be also the waist here. A little bit above this subdivision we are going to find in males and also in females the most narrow part of the torso. So that means again our navel is going to be here, and so from the armpit on we are going to get down to the waist, and from here on we go a little bit to the outside, and that is going to be basically the shape. It is very, very schematic, as you can see. That is going to be the torso. From the armpit on, if we went down perfectly vertical, we should be more or less at the same distance as the hips. That means that this one here could be a little bit wider, and also at the same distance on the other side, something like that. So make sure both vertices are very close to that distance. Okay, nice. Here we would have the navel. Good. And now from here on we start the legs. Basically here we have what is called the crotch, and of course we are not going to start drawing the legs as if this was directly a doll, no, since the thighs are inserted into the hips. So basically that is going to be the insertion of our thigh, and the thigh is going to be as long as this intersection here, something like that, and the knee is going to be a little bit above precisely that intersection here. So we are going to take that thigh, duplicate it, invert it, and then try to place it as mirrored as possible, something like that. I'm going to correct a little bit that distance here, and the same thing there. Nice. From here on we are going down to the calves, the ankle, the feet, and so on. I'm going to also make this one a little bit narrower, and this is going to allow us to immediately after start drawing what's going to be the calf. From here on we go down. At the half here we're going to have the ankle, and that is going to be our foot. We go upwards, we go into the leg like this. And again, that is going to be duplicated, mirror it, and try to place it. Nice. Now we will have to focus on the arms, which are going to be rather easy. Then again, this rectangle here is going to be the arm, and from here on, at the same height as the navel, we are going to have the elbows. So that means from here on we are going to draw the forearm, which is going to be this long, and at the height basically of the crotch we are going to have the wrists, and from here on we go downwards till basically half of our thigh, like that. This is going to be our hand, and yes, it is longer and bigger than you probably think. Bear in mind that you have to be able to insert your hands into your pockets, and usually the pockets are here. Okay, so you will have to have long enough arms to insert those into your pockets without stretching your arms. So this one is going to be then duplicated and mirrored and placed it here. Now I'm going to make sure our shoulders are in its right place, armpits, pectorals. We can do them a little bit bigger, we can do them a little bit shorter. It's up to you, of course, it couldn't be any other way. But now here we have what is going to be the general scheme for a human body, and it's going to help us so much to draw a human body.